The goal of the show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. We also post advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds or less on our LinkedIn. Follow us there at Breaking and Entering Media. Turn on post notifications. You do not want to miss a video, I guarantee it. Today, we're joined by Karla Vitrone. We're pulling back the curtains on the people behind the people, the ones who shape agencies and build teams and define eras. That's right. Karla Vitrone is the co-founder and partner at Tangerine and Revelry, two companies focused on talent, transformation, and matchmaking agencies with the right people and partners. She's going to share what agencies look for when they're building or rebuilding, how she finds and places rising stars and senior leaders, and what it takes to actually stand out to recruiters and decision makers today. From her early hustle breaking into the industry in London to leading major pitches at agencies like Goodby, Silverstein and Partners, Wyden and Kennedy, to now running her own global talent consultancy, you're going to learn a lot from Karla. Whether you're just breaking in or climbing into your next big role, she is the go-to person for that. You're going to want to reach out to her. And this episode will give you the fundamentals, whether you're trying to get hired, stay relevant, or building a career with longevity. Now, on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right. Karla Vitrone, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming in. You are the co-founder and partner at Tangerine and Revelry. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Wonderful. We're going to talk about that. What does that mean? Those are two companies. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe they're one. You can give me the rundown there. And then we're going to understand how you broke into this stuff and your best advice for the next generation. Do you agree with the terms?
I agree. Let's do it.
Amazing. Outside of advertising, marketing, what are you up to? What do you like to do when you're not working?
Well, I have two young kids.
Okay.
So chase them around. Love to travel. Love this city. Go home a lot to the UK. Just, I don't have any crazy out there hobby, unfortunately. I wish I could say, like, I play lacrosse or something. But just the usual.
The usual. So two young kids, are they going to go into advertising? You're going to force them?
Well, my 9-year-old says that advertising are the things that he skips on YouTube.
Same.
So I'm not sure maybe he's going to find a way of making work that is unskippable.
Right. Now we're talking. Maybe a creative, maybe an art director, maybe a copywriter. We'll see.
Let's see.
We'll see. Give me the rundown. So what are you up to today work-wise? What does your day-to-day look like? What's this company all about?
That's a great question. So, I mean, the day-to-day, that's actually what we and I always talk about, is you have to make sure you love your day-to-day because that's all you have. So every day is a combination of talking to incredible people in the form of, candidates, people we have approached about potentially looking and exploring new opportunities that we might be working on, just getting to know people in general. Like, one of the big things that we try to do is, like, who's the next generation? Who are the next CDs? Who are the people that are not in the industry yet but should be, maybe want to be, and then, working with our clients. So figuring out where they're at as a business, where they're trying to be, and then strategizing around the people that they need to fulfill that. So today has been a mix of all those things, and it really is so energizing because you just meet the most incredible people and they just make your day every day.
Yeah. So you got talent and you got your clients, and talent is up and coming, or people that are in the advertising industry, talented people. You're finding them, or they're coming to you saying they're potentially looking for a new job. How does it look on the talent side?
Yeah, so it really is a mix, like we approach people, and I think a big thing for us is we don't just like send people job descriptions or ideas. I think the art form of doing talent well is getting to know people, so you can figure out like, well, what is right for them. So our conversations really, we'll approach people. Some people are not looking at all, and then you'll talk to them about something that piques their interest, and then the journey begins. And sometimes like for the most part, they're the most exciting journeys you can go on with people. Of course, there are people who are looking, they've been somewhere a long time, they're ready, they might reach out to us. It's a real mix, but I do think doing headhunting strategically is really being able to find absolutely brilliant people, and often those people aren't always looking.
Right.
Sometimes they are, but not always.
And it's really important for people to understand that listening, maybe earlier in their careers, like the opportunities will eventually come to you if you're doing good in your job, and you work hard and you like what you're doing, right? Like you'll get noticed, you'll get those phone calls, you'll get the LinkedIn messages later on. So they often ask about, how do you get that first job, or how do you get the next job? Like, do you fill out like LinkedIn applications? Like, what does it look like for the mid-level today?
Yeah, I think it is really helpful to help people navigate early on. The more senior you get, the more savvy people get, and the more relationships they have. We go to the schools, we're involved with several programs where people are coming into the industry, and our advice is always like, really develop your relationships early on. So with CCOs, with CDs, with people with account people that are more senior than you, people that you really admire, you'll be surprised. People will want to talk to you. People absolutely love being asked for advice. That's like the quickest way to people's hearts is to ask for advice and make them feel flattered that you want to learn from them. And then get to know who are all the talent companies within the industry that you're in, and start developing relationships, because it really becomes like a very ongoing thing throughout the years.
It never stops. You should always continue networking, saying hello, picking up the phone call, even when you first break in that first job. Keep it rolling. I love that.
Yeah.
Got it. So then so that's a little bit of the talent side, and then tell me about some of the client side. Like, these are agencies potentially looking to fill in X spots here. How does that work?
Yeah, so it varies. Like, we work with a ton of agencies, and we really like to work with agencies that really partner with us deeply. So maybe it's an agency that is on the brink of a transformation. Like, we think about talent and agencies as having eras, and we talk about that a lot. So we often work with partners who, it's not just like a random hire here or there. Sometimes we get calls about that, and it might be like a specific position that needs filling. But often you're embarking on a really meaningful journey where you're looking for many people at many different levels, because that's how you really change culture and influence the culture of a company, because you're thinking about chemistry between departments and people. So we get briefed, we understand where they're at, where they're trying to get to, and then we go and find the talent that matches that.
What are indicators of an era change within an agency?
Indicators that you're doing it.
Well, it's that they need to, or it's like then X happens, or this happens, so then we have to call up your company, Tangerine Revelry.
Yeah, so I think it can be a few different things. Like, often the talent is draining, and I think all of them have like a knock-on effect, right? Commercially, things are struggling. A lot of the great talent left. The work wasn't what it used to be. Several kind of iconic clients may have left. Like, I think all those things obviously completely like are interwoven with each other. And I think it happens, I mean, you guys know this, like, it happens all the time in agencies. You have these peaks and troughs. So I think when you're at a point where you don't have the clients you used to have, the people you used to have, and the work that you used to have, like, you have to like stop and reset and like rebuild in an incredibly strategic and intentional way. And from our point of view, that starts with the people, because you have the right people and everything else will come.
Totally. I always say the best way to find like the agency you want to work for is figure out the ads you like and then figure out the people that made it. And then the people follow them.
Always follow the people.
It seems like they move around quite a bit in this industry. So just because, let's say, Ogilvy made this ad in the 90s, like the people that made it might be gone.
Exactly. Yeah. So our mantra at Tangerine is who beats what.
Yes.
And that's always our advice to talent as well. Like who, and and even when we're looking at talent, when we're thinking about who's good and why, we don't just look at where they worked. We looked at the era they were there and who they worked under. Ooh. And how that would have influenced who they are. Interesting.
What are some of the other things? So you get a brief from an agency and you're looking at like multiple levels, like you're hiring on, helping them hire on for the agency. Like what else do you like look for within the talent? Like how else do you find that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is energy matching. So you need to know your client. You need to know let's just say we do work with brands as well, but in this instance, we go into the agency, we spend time, we get to know, the different leaders. Like you may just be hiring for one discipline, but it's really important that you understand the entire vibe so that when you're interviewing and screening people on their behalf, you have a really good sense of like, would they be additive? Do they feel like they would be a good match? Because someone might be really good at their job, but like, are they an energy match? Are they a personality match? Like, do they have the softer skills and that sparkle? And that, I think that's something that we're really good at, because it's there's a certain kind of magic in terms of matching people's souls and personalities, because there's tons of people who are brilliant at what they do on paper. So it really is, the magic comes in that, like when you pick up the phone and you start talking, and we always have a sense instantly of like whether they're going to be right. And that's one of the things that we love about being more above and adjacent to the industry. It makes you love it so much because there's a home for everyone. And that home might be different depending on the person. Yeah.
And it's so nice, like, to have that neutral third-party perspective where the agency might be busy, or they might not see that same vibe. So having you come in, your company come in and, like, do that scouting and do that vibe check for them, I think that's really great.
Yeah, and on the talent side, I think the other thing that's amazing about guiding people through their career choices is, sometimes we may have people in the mix for 2 or 3 different things. And so you really are helping them figure out like where their energy lies. And they may come to you and say, I want to work at X, Y, and Z agency. And then you may have an idea that's actually totally different than they have briefed you on or think, but then they meet them and they're like, oh, actually, I prefer this because of, and so those kind of things are really fulfilling. And the same on the other side is, a client might brief you on a certain thing and you'll present a person of a totally different level, or maybe like a different combo of humans that they hadn't thought about. And those things are really rewarding, because then we're being strategic and additive versus just taking a brief.
Right. So then can you talk about some like the talent levels that you usually work with, just to give us a lay of the land? Is it more like senior, like executive level, just so that our listeners who are, sometimes a little bit younger, so they get an understanding?
Yeah, so we made a really intentional decision as a business to start entry level, because this industry moves fast.
Wow.
As like you are coming into it today and you're a CCO in 5 minutes. So we really get like, and we're actually putting together a program at the moment, which is kind of like our own school that's agnostic of agencies, to really help and prepare the next generation. And then also in the same breath, help CCOs understand like who are the interesting people. And in this age of AI, and there's a lot of new technology coming in that is changing the way that more junior roles are filled in agencies, like getting ahead of that, helping younger talent coming into the industry understand how to work in harmony with AI. So we do all levels, to answer your question.
Wow.
So everything from C-suite down to like finding kids, honestly, that may not have even thought about advertising as a career, and helping guide them. And that's some, we have a couple of people on our team who purely focus on that level, and we really love it.
Interesting. Okay. How can then the aspiring entry level, how can they get in touch? Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Email hello@tangerine-team.com.
Now we're talking. Okay. Big things that you've learned then from like the screening calls. Like, well, you mentioned the vibe. It's matchmaking, right? Like, you understand what the client's looking for, which is an agency. You know what the brief is. You're looking for a specific skill set, type of personality maybe, or see if there's room for magic. Like, what advice, I guess, do you have from numerous calls and interviews that you've done for the next generation?
Yeah, I think one of the things we hear a lot is people think that they have to explain and tell you what they can do. And I think people need to think more about what they want to do and what they love doing. I feel like that's how we're kind of trained, right? To just talk about like, oh, I can do this and I can do that. And I'm, and actually like just stopping and thinking about what parts of the job do I love. Like, that's something that comes up in screening. I also think like have an open mind. People definitely think that, they've only worked in small places and that's all they know. And maybe they're like only worked in independent shops and they're closed off to bigger or to a holding company. And actually, like, the thing that's interesting about doing this, and I worked in a lot of smaller and independent shops, is there are so many benefits to working in a bigger company and in a holding company. In terms of like how you show up, like, definitely like be prepared. We feel that people, especially more junior people, can be a little bit more meandering in their conversation. So it's like, come prepared. Have questions. Like, have agency over your own choices, but really like just be who you are, because that energy and that magic and that sparkle really is like so much of what we're looking for. And then present your work. If you're a creative, make sure you have a great website. I know that sounds like really obvious, but we approach a lot of people who don't have their work curated.
Gotta have it. Gotta have that portfolio cleaned up, ready to go, ready to present, and practice presenting it too. I love that.
Yes.
Got it. How did you break into this business? At what point did you say to a young Karla, I want to be in advertising or marketing?
So I grew up in the middle of England, and from I always wanted to work in advertising. I did not know what that even meant. Like, I used to watch ads and I would like I would study them, and I would make lists about what I wanted to buy and why. And I thought ads were like a movie. Like, this is so useful because look, they're just showing me all these amazing things that I want. So I always had that in my head. A big part of my degree at university in England was advertising and communications. Studied it, still didn't really know what it meant to have a career in advertising. And then I started interviewing, and I didn't even know there were different jobs. It's like, oh, you just work in advertising, right? And just have ideas. And the first place I interviewed at told me that I should be an account person. And I was like, great, just happy to be here. My story is kind of interesting though, and I think is hopefully is an interesting lesson, is my first and my third job said no. And I was like, what? And basically argued with them. And then they said yes. And I'm still really close to both of those founders. Okay. So the first one, it was literally my first ever job. They said I didn't know the competitor well enough.
Interesting.
And, I think that still holds true. Like, to your question about how should you prepare, like, know your shit about the clients, competitors, the landscapes. Like, some of the basics I do think have got a little bit lost. Anyway, so I was like, my bad. And then I went back to them with an entire presentation. And I think the founder was like, wow, she really wants this. And I prove that I could work really hard. So got that job. Then I got myself to London, and then it happened to me again. And then I did loads of research, and he'd said no because I didn't have above the line experience, which was a whole thing back then. This is, almost 20 years ago. And I did loads of research on him, and he had only worked in retail agents once, and now I need one. And I guess he liked that because he gave me the job, and now, he's a client and a good friend and a mentor. And I always think about that, those like moments in your career when things could have gone differently. And that was an incredible moment for me. And I loved my time there. And then it got me to Wyden, and here we are.
Yeah. Like, I guess like that takes a lot of confidence. Like, did that kind of like give you lasting confidence throughout your career? Like, if there's a first rejection, you can just try again and like prove them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think I obviously had some hustle in me, but I do think, I think it is a good lesson for us, like in a professional context. It's like, if you feel like the feedback, if you're like, damn it, they were right, but like actually I think they're wrong and I just didn't show up in the best way, like people want to see that you really want something. Like, that's something that me and our clients talk about all the time. Like, how much did they want it? Because there may be someone that is more qualified, but they didn't want it as much. So your energy and enthusiasm for an opportunity is everything.
Everything. I mean, there's so many parallels to when agencies are pitching for new business, like kind of going above and beyond. Exactly. Who wants it most, like putting that prep work. There's so many parallels that I've even wrote about on Ad Age, like between that process. So it's really interesting. Like just giving an extra presentation or sending them like some research that you've done ahead of the interview, or making a mock ad for one of their clients. Like, the little things go a long way.
Yeah.
But
truly. Yeah. And always, that's the other thing as well. It's like always writing. If you had an interview and you loved it, like, write to them and tell them.
Do you find it like, I mean, I don't think I've done that maybe since my like internship days. Do you think that like once you get in the industry, is it easier to like move around? Like,
yeah, definitely. Like the more senior people that we represent, like, when your reputation precedes you, and it's more about like you're in the driving seat, right? Like, where do I choose to go?
What do you notice from like the senior executives then, like their reputation, like where you, like, how do you find them? Is it like the work, the award shows? Is it like press that you've seen them, like for the senior folks that, like, how do they build up that reputation in the industry so they're like very desirable?
Yeah, I honestly think it's like how authentic people are. Like the people that I am lucky enough to speak to most days and hire for and work with, some of the most senior people in the industry, they are who they are, and they show up who they are in interviews. They, the way that they build their profile, whether it be with the press, with LinkedIn, like, they're very consistent with their personality, their passions, their belief, and their energy, right? And I think also like their love for the industry. So I would say like the people that have the best reputations are the ones that are just very, very authentic to who they are. Got
it. So you proceeded into the account track, then you stumbled into the new business world at Goodby, I saw here. So how was that transition from account to new business?
So I actually did new business everywhere I worked, but not all account people do that. I definitely, like a lot of people, but I loved the energy of new business, like working on pitches, running pitches. You get closer to senior people quickly. I that would also be some advice I would have for all departments. Like, put your hand up, no matter how junior you are, put your hand up to work on a pitch.
Oh yeah.
Because you see people in the most like pressured environments, people work so much quicker than you do, and all eyes are on it, and like there's just naturally like energy about chasing the new. So I always, I did it a lot at Wyden. Like I, led the pitch for Southern Comfort.
Nice.
That we won, and then transitioned to running the account. Goodby.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a career highlight. And then Goodby was so small. Like it was, when I joined, like me and Nancy Reyes were the only account people. So we did everything, but there was a ton of pitching.
Interesting. I mean, yeah, she's a Hall of Famer as well, Nancy Reyes. She's doing big things.
She is the best. The best human. And
Nancy, you're invited on the show whenever you'd like.
Nancy, come.
How about that? Boom. What was the hardest pitch that you ended up winning? Like most effort, like you didn't know this, like draining.
Yeah, that's good. Joe, I honestly, I think I would say Southern Comfort, because the work that we presented, we ended up making, and it was insane that we, Jim Lasser, I'm still close with, who works on that, Nick Kaplan, Jeff Dreyer, like just the most incredible team. And we were completely audacious, and we wanted it so badly. And we were told we were a wild card the whole pitch.
Hell yeah.
That's
what you like.
And it was, it was a whole thing, and it was the most incredible experience, honestly, from the first pitch meeting until, after we made the work.
Who, can you talk about the agencies you were competing against?
I know I honestly actually can't remember.
Okay.
But I know that they were definitely like a lot more traditional, I would say.
Okay. All right. Any other fun pitch stories? Staying up late, flying across the country?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's still. I feel like post-COVID things are different. Like definitely, like I have some hilarious pitch stories from London where everything was still paper. You'd like go out for a drink the night before a pitch, thinking that was a good idea. Someone would leave the entire pitch in the bar. I remember my boss calling me once in London, telling me this had happened, and I was like banging on the door of this bar at like 7 a.m. trying to get the portfolio back.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't think those things happen anymore.
Did you get the portfolio back?
I think we did, we did.
That's scary
Thank
stuff.
God.
You got to fire that intern right away.
I was good with a scalpel. Back in those days, there was a lot of like cutting things out, and
scalpel.
And very analog.
Interesting. That's crazy. I heard this story that like when it was like the portfolio days, you would like go into the conference room, and when you would leave, you can check the like trash bins for the other team's work, I guess, or like their leave behinds.
Yes.
And you can kind of
my God, that is so true.
You can scout behind and see what you're up against.
That is so true.
The Ogilvy? Which one was it?
Can you speak in the mic?
Speaking of the mic, wasn't there one of the advertising legends was like, we're not going to pitch. This is better.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember who it was?
David Ogilvy's story. He got his hands on the other agency's work, like on the way there, right before they were going to leave.
Wow.
And he's like, turn around. We're not going to win.
Wow, that is, yeah. I mean, I do remember a lot of, you'd obviously stay in like the nicest hotel you could find in these like random towns you were often in, and then you'd like bump in to all the other agencies.
Game face.
And I definitely was like kind of sent to, because people didn't know who I was, right? So like I would be like, go sit near that table.
Oh yeah, get over there, scout it out, figure out.
Try and hear what are they saying? Like there was definitely like a lot of that stuff, which is fun.
I feel like is it true that like a lot of the pitching process today is like they're basically buying the work, like it's like 80% done, like instead of the concept.
I mean, I think that's the dream. I do feel like I've heard more and more that is happening more and more. Tangerine is totally talent acquisition, and then we developed Revelry born out of Tangerine. Everything is born out of this Who Beats What, like the belief that the right people can solve everything, but sometimes that might be an agency instead of one person or a group of people. So we help brands find their agencies.
That's so sick.
Where, like, when appropriate. And, you know, the reason that we did that is in having worked on a lot of new business in agency, and a lot of my team and one of my partners, Nick, who used to be the partner and CEO at 72, like, we saw firsthand, like, the wastage and exhaustion that goes with pitching, you know, not making the work that you pitch with, like, a very, like, laborious process.
Yeah. Multiple rounds,
yeah. And so
too many people in that, too many agencies in there.
Yeah. So we do hear. So when we ran a lot of pitches last year, and we did hear more and more that the work was being made that was pitched with.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would say is that what clients are looking for is also, like, how you make it. So capabilities, your point of view on AI, like, you know, that it's like more and more important.
We are looking for a pro bono agency to make a new website for us. So
Wow,
good luck with that.
Well, that's like just a
Thanks,
live
everybody.
brief.
Thanks, everybody. That's like not what you're supposed to do. Like the LinkedIn people that are like posting like briefs there.
No, well, we'll do that for you. We'll do that for you.
Have you seen that?
Like
people,
the brands
will post like a brief on LinkedIn, and then there'll be a free for all in the comment section.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, it's kind of how I feel about when headhunters post what jobs they're working on. It's like, to me, that's like a creative saying, I need an idea for a tech brand about blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that's what you're meant to do yourself.
Right.
Well, Gino just did.
That's different.
No, we're going to talk more.
It was a joke.
It was just a joke.
It was a joke.
But we'll get right on that.
Hell yeah. What are they like? What do you ask the brands when they're looking for an agency? Like, what are some of those core things?
So I think, like, the same with talent is, like, really trying to. Often there's a gap between what people think they want and what they actually want, and so we always are trying to close that gap. And like same with if someone's briefing on talent, if someone's briefing us on an agency, it's like really, really, really trying to understand, what do you need. Like,
similar.
It's honestly the same. It's all the same.
Same stuff.
It's
like, you
all
just
the same.
You gotta know the vibes. You gotta know what they're looking for.
Yeah, it's like, you just understand. When you understand something really deeply, then you can. And that's why the best clients and the best partners, like, the input section or part of the process is heavy, because the more you give, and that's why, like, I feel like the people that we deliver best for on a talent level partner with us in a very meaningful, deep way, and there's like a lot of love and natural energy and also understanding. So when we're out there, like, pitching and talking about them, we get it at like a different level. We can answer their questions thoroughly, and it's almost like you work there.
Got it. Yeah. So what's next? What's next for you in this world?
Well, so I feel like what's next is almost like what I'm doing, like what I'm doing and we're doing. So, like, you know, obviously I left working in an agency and pivoted to doing talent 5 years ago. And, you know, I can't imagine doing anything different now. I mean, we are growing. It was 4 people when I started. Now we have 17 around the world. And genuinely, there is nothing more joyful and fulfilling about just focusing on people, because, like we've said a million times, like, that is really like all that matters to any company. You can track any agency, any brand, any company, and you can like overlay that with who was there at the time, and that's the why, right? That's always the why. And so we, like, it is like our team is like a family, like, and we genuinely are obsessed with what we do and the way that we do it, you know. And so I think what's next is like just really continuing to keep that quality, keep delivering, that's the thing, that you're only just as good as the people that you can find, deepening relationships. We already work with a lot of brands, but working with both is really imperative, because understanding both sides. And then also there's a lot of fluidity between agency talent moving to brand and vice versa. And then, the other thing that's next is like with AI becoming more of a real thing that we can't ignore, is like, how do we as a company that believes so fiercely in people make sure that we keep the stuff alive that AI can't replace, like our taste and our humanity and our creativity, but how do the two work together?
It's important.
Very important.
Karla, how can people reach out to you specifically if they want to work with you?
Should I give my email address?
LinkedIn.
So LinkedIn, Karla Vitrone, Karla with a K on LinkedIn. The hello email that I gave earlier, comes through to us. We're launching our Instagram. We have a website, which is tangerine-team.com. You can go there and find all this information. We're hosting a event for women on the 21st of May, and it's about the intersection of hormonal health, hormonal shifts, and female success at work. So if anyone is like, oh my God, yes, then definitely get in touch about that.
You're doing big things. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.